Hi everyone, Michael Mezmer here. So I'm at what's left of an old Chinese cemetery here in Nevada City near Grass Valley, California. And we used to come here when I was younger. I played at the fair, I still do every other year. And we would come here because we'd go on the train that was down at the Nevada Northern Queen Hotel, and we'd take that train and we'd come up here. And when I say we, at that time it was my family, my children. And now it's become a campsite around this old cemetery. And just below the cemetery is a really cool thing because they actually have a performing area, a theater as it were, or an amphitheater. And we used to come here on the train and they would do really cool shows here, like tributes to Mark Twain. A person would do a Mark Twain show we came and saw one time here. So it's still here, still in place. And it's a really cool place right here in this Nevada County area and the Nevada City area, right here near the Chinese cemetery. So this is the entrance to the Chinese cemetery. I believe I referred to it as a graveyard in some of the video, but of course it would be a cemetery. And if you don't know the difference between a cemetery and a graveyard is connected to a church. A cemetery is on its own, separate from a church. So it is the Chinese cemetery here in Nevada City, California. Yeah, it's a pretty interesting place. Behind me, you'll see the little crematorium area where they would take the bodies and I don't know, cremate them. And then there's only one grave site left. It's the main grave site. When we used to come here, there was many different areas, but now there's just the main grave site behind me. And I'll do a close-up of that so you can see what it looks like. It's fascinating up here, but it is interesting that it's surrounded by all these trailers, travel trailers. But it's interesting. So let me take a close-up of that. So here is the last remaining actual grave site from the Chinese graveyard here. Now the interesting thing is I've been told in research that, as you can see, it's a very interesting tombstone with Chinese character writing on it. But I've been told that what happened was they would make this graveyard, but generally speaking, the Chinese workers, their families would have their bodies shipped back to China ultimately. I don't know if they were cremated then shipped back or however. So most of the graveyards that were here are no longer here. Although as you walk through the area here, you'll see there's a lot of indentations and areas of the ground where there no doubt were graves at one time. Might be a little hard to see on the video, but there you can see some of them here where they're sort of like collapsed graves through this area. So it's really fascinating here. Unfortunately, not a lot to ghost hunt this time because there's only the one area left with the tombstone. But at one time, all of these had tombstones when we came. And as you can see, they're very deep. And no doubt they took out the bodies when they purchased the property and moved them to wherever or possibly back to their family. Well, as I said, I won't be doing any ghost hunting at this Chinese cemetery because it looks like all the bodies have been moved, although there could still be some spirit energy here. I think maybe I'll follow up some other areas tonight if I have the opportunity. But it was great to take a trip back into the past to the Chinese cemetery, to this wonderful amphitheater where we saw a tribute to Mark Twain and other things in the old days. It's like taking a trip back through time. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this brief journey into the Chinese cemetery here in Nevada City, Nevada County, California.